Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? आज बताइए कि आज सब कैसे हो? Today I'm going over Jupiter's transit in the sign of Cancer. Okay, this is its exaltation sign, and I'm making this video from when it goes into Cancer, October 18th of 2025, until it goes retrograde of November 11th, 2025. Okay, so 11/11 of this year. Once it goes retrograde, I'll make another video. Okay, but I'm gonna make a video for this first initial transit. Why? Because these 3.5 weeks, Jupiter is in its exaltation sign, and Jupiter gets its peak exaltation is in the beginning of Cancer, right? Right at around 5 degrees. Okay. So this first spot where Jupiter is approaching its exaltation degrees, and it's very slow, which means that the planet's awareness is also very high. This is a very, very good time to really enhance your consciousness and your spiritual elevation if that's a goal of yours in this lifetime. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to do that. Now, starting off, so we all know Jupiter gets exalted in Cancer, right? And for the reasons why. Jupiter represents your consciousness. When you put your consciousness and apply it towards the comfortment and nurturement of yourself and others and things like that, that is where the consciousness is in its most highly spiritual state, right? When your consciousness is focused on what's the best for others, okay? Or how to take care of others. Now, Jupiter, if you see this transit, it actually never really leaves the first degree of Cancer, okay? And why does Jupiter get exalted at the beginning of Cancer? Well, that's because Jupiter, the beginning of Cancer is kind of like the grounded portion of Cancer, right? So Jupiter is able to apply its consciousness in a very grounded way for nurturement and comfort and things like that, right? Versus the end of Cancer. Yes, it's still Jupiter's exaltation sign, but it kind of loses a little bit of that groundedness, right? So that's why Jupiter's peak exaltation at a very high level just is at 5 degrees, the beginning of Cancer, right? Now, Jupiter in this transit, also, it never leaves Purnavasu Nakshatra, okay? Purnavasu Nakshatra, it actually runs mostly through the end of Gemini, and it is at the very beginning portion of Cancer here, right? So Jupiter, throughout the last, little while it's been in Purnavasu Nakshatra, it's kind of been developing a certain awareness, like, okay, the efforts that we've taken to, improve ourselves or expand our life in any sort of way that we want, how is that actually going to serve anybody else besides ourselves? Okay, that's what that's almost kind of like what your Jupiter is going through in a nutshell. Okay, and a level that kind of adds to this or supports this is the fact of all the action in Libra right now, right? See, if you look, Jupiter exaltation sign is in Cancer, and Saturn's exaltation sign is in Libra. Okay? There is a quote in the Gujarati community, specifically in the Swaminarayan community, where it's, "In the joy of others lies our own." Okay? When you think of that, you think of two things. You think of Saturn in Libra, and you think of Jupiter in Cancer, right? Because, it's important to use your consciousness to see how you can genuinely, wholeheartedly do things for others. And then the Saturn in Libra is, okay, now that you know, go ahead and actually serve the other people, right? Jupiter here is in Cancer. And yes, Saturn is not in Libra, but there are a lot of other planets in Libra, okay? Throughout this whole transit, all the other slower moving planets like Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Sun, they all, to some extent, go through Libra here, right? So the ability to interact or get exposure to others is there, right? Which further supports, this Jupiter in Cancer, right? Not only is it very aware because it's moving slower, and it's in a very auspicious spot because of, it's at the beginning of Cancer, but there's a lot of, things going on in Libra, and also there's other things like Rahu's in Aquarius and things like that, right? So, but mostly the Libra point, you will have the opportunity of, getting exposure, interacting with others to further support your Jupiter having awareness increase in this way, right? So it's a great time to kind of see, okay, how have my efforts, whatever I've, applied my consciousness or my thinking to in my life to help improve or do whatever, how is that actually going to do anything to anybody else? Okay, specifically, possibly people in my home or people that I take care of or things like that, okay? So that's that in a nutshell. If you look, Jupiter, when it's in this beginning portion of Cancer, specifically this 1 degree portion, in a lot of the divisional signs, it's also in Cancer, right? Like the D2, D3, D4, and D9, right? It is in Cancer. So it's fully on board in this mission, which makes sense, right? Because it's been in Purnavasu for a long time, and Purnavasu is now ending in Cancer, right? So it's fully ready to kind of embark on this mission and kind of get going to the next new chapter, right? But there's 2 other charts I want you to look at. One, the D7, right? Because I kind of already talked about Libra. Libra is the 7th sign. And D7 has a lot to do with other people. In this divisional chart, actually, Jupiter is actually debilitated, okay? So when Jupiter's in the 1st degree of Cancer in the D1 chart, in D7, it's in Capricorn. And in D10, it's in Pisces, right? And it owns Pisces. What does this mean at a general gist? This D10 placement basically represents the fact that Jupiter's in Pisces. What does a D10 represent? It represents your purpose, your mission in life, right? Yes, people like to use it for career and things like that because they only care about, the money the job's going to give them and stuff like that. But the actual true spiritual intent is to see your mission or your vision in this lifetime, okay? Yes, your career is a big byproduct of that, but it's that, right? But basically what this means is, as you flow from Gemini to Cancer in this Purnavasu Nakshatra, at the beginning of Cancer, you kind of have to detach from your own personal vision or mission just for a little bit, right? You kind of almost have to put it on hold. That's what this D10 placement means, right? And the fact that Jupiter is debilitated in this D7 chart, it kind of means that, okay, when it comes to your actual interaction with others, there needs to be some sort of discipline applied to it so that you can actually support them in the way that might be best to actually genuinely support someone, right? Which is why, just a little tangent thing, not all the time debilitation is like a complete disaster or whatever, right? You have to look at everything, right? But this is why in this particular 1st degree of Cancer, these specific divisional chart placements are there, right? And this is how you can actually properly use divisional charts, right? It's not just to blindly be like 1 + 1, okay, this is gonna happen. No, it's not about that. It's to kind of understand the flow and kind of understand, how things are moving and things like that at like, all kinds of levels, right? Not just, do random calculations and, come up with something that sounds good and hope for the best. Okay, that's not what I'm hoping for you guys here, okay? All right, I think for a 3.5 week transit, this is good enough, okay? I'm a little shy of 10 minutes, so this is fine, okay? If you have any questions or comments, as usual, you can let me know, and I'll make another video when Jupiter goes retrograde, and likewise when it goes progressive again and actually into when it goes into Cancer, more for real, past the 1st degree, okay? So that's it. If you have any questions or comments, you can let me know in the comment section or you can email me. And until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.